Those critical of the film Zero Dark 30 believe it shows torture was an effective tool in finding Osama bin Laden. In a piece for the Los Angeles Times, director Kathryn Bigelow argues her right to create art and speak her conscience is protected by the First Amendment. Kathryn Bigelow is here along with senior correspondent John Miller, a former assistant FBI director. Welcome.
Thank
all
you.
of you.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Because of the controversy, what is it you think you must say, in a sense, to make clear what this film was for you and what you were doing as an artist?
Well, good question. The film, now that it's out in wide release and has pretty genuinely been embraced by audiences, there seems to be a lot of question about what I personally felt about the movie. And the movie, you know, has some difficult sequences at the beginning, and then it, of course, goes through a lot of very ingenious detective work, and then the result of that is the compound in Abbottabad. And my feeling is that torture is reprehensible, but it was part of this story. This is a 10-year hunt for the world's most dangerous man, compressed into 2.5 hours. It is, however, a movie, and I wanted to make it clear that it's a movie and not a documentary.
Was torture part of finding Osama bin Laden?
Well, I think it's not debatable that the detainee program was part of the early years, right after 9/11, and then it was no longer utilized, and there are many tactics used in finding Mr. bin Laden. I think you're an expert on that, but there were electronic trap and trace, good old-fashioned boots on the ground sleuthing. So there were many tactics utilized. And could they have found the compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan without the detainee program? I don't know, and I'm not an expert. I think it'll be debated for years and years to come.
But John, you had said the portrayal was extraordinarily accurate in a way that movies are accurate. What do you mean by that?
What I meant is seeing the film in screenings before it came out. You know, I didn't know what to expect going in, but I had also sat through the classified briefings on what led to finding Osama bin Laden. And in that regard, the film had really captured that story. The torture stuff most of that was at the beginning of the film, but the part of the story I thought it really captured was the incredible 10-year arc, this effort, and all the little pieces that came together to find that compound in Abbottabad. If you look at the torture piece, that's kind of mixed together some of what the military did, some of what the CIA did, and kind of, again, you're looking at a decade worth of stuff that's cobbled together in a few scenes. But the film is a document, but it's not a documentary.
So what do you think of the criticism?
I think everybody is trying to cherry pick, and I've read all this very carefully. Everybody's trying to cherry pick from this movie their pet peeve and say the movie either supports it or goes against it. And I mean, this is one of those times when you have to say, it's a great story, but it's just a movie. You know, it's not a documentary.
Do you think that the controversy cost you the Oscar nomination? Jessica Chastain was nominated and said she could not have gotten the performance that she did without your direction, that it was a shot to her heart.
You know, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I do feel gratified to be part of a community that has made some pretty extraordinary films about some very tough subjects, especially war. Like you look at movies like Apocalypse Now, Deer Hunter. These are, you know, these are strong films, strong subjects, and it's a strong community that's extremely creative.
Were you hurt that you weren't nominated? Because many people felt it was such a snub to you and such an injustice to the work you did on the movie. I'm wondering how you felt personally about that.
And the fact that the picture was nominated for Best Picture.
It stands to reason the director would be nominated in the Best Picture.
I think it's gratifying just that the film is being appreciated and honored.
True.
And the audiences are embracing it. And to be honest, you know, it was only a couple of years ago that I was standing on that stage with the Hurt Locker, and so that might have something to do with it as well.
But do you feel the need to explain yourself here now because of the controversies that has arisen? To make clear people understand you as an artist.
Oh, well, I think that's interesting. I mean, I think the film kind of exists at this kind of intersection between art and journalism. I mean, this story was not really reported on until we decided to report on the story. It didn't exist in books and articles, and there wasn't a timeline out there. So we needed to do some reporting. We needed to do some investigative journalism. And then out of that, Mark Bowl wrote a screenplay. And I think that, you know, I think it is, you know, it's been a little bit difficult because it really, to remind people that it's a movie and to make sure that not a documentary, and people understand that.
The point that John was making.
Exactly.
And I think if you're Mark Bolan, you find yourself at the intersection of journalism, which is trying to get the real story, and storytelling, creating a screenplay that will keep that compelling and keep it easy enough to follow. And then you find yourself being, I mean, they're talking about subpoenaing you to congressional committees to ask about who were your sources and what did they tell you. Suddenly you are whipsawing between being a journalist, having to protect sources, being a screenwriter, having to tell a story, and it's such a compelling story. Not many screenwriters would find themselves there.
It's a compelling story, and it's still in the theaters.
It's a compelling movie.
Yeah, Zero Dark 30 still in the theaters. Thank you, Kathryn Bigelow and John Miller.